Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We're here at another Cafecito. So take your break for the next 20 minutes. We're going to have a wonderful conversation about professional growth and, most importantly, the mindset that we need to be able to accomplish this, because it's definitely easier said than done. And to have this conversation today, I'm very excited to welcome our guest, Nicole Perez. Thank you so much for being here with us and share a little bit about yourself and, this topic, because I know that this is something that you're very passionate about.
Yeah, thank you, Eliana. I'm so grateful to be here. A little bit about myself. Currently, my role, I serve as a corporate vice president at New York Life. And I also serve as the president of Alpha Orlando. I actually started this new role in February. Before that, I was a partner in the Orlando General Office and in charge of hiring and developing agents and advisors on my team. And I've actually had 3 other roles in the company before that. One is an associate partner, a financial advisor before that, and then a Latino market coordinator. And so, when you asked me to come and speak, I wanted to talk about professional growth and mindset, because these are 2 topics that I feel like come up continuously in my conversations with people I've hired in my previous roles, Alpha members and students that I speak to at my former graduate school. And I keep finding that it's more common of a topic that comes up with women, and especially Latina women. Now, I want to say I'm in no way, shape, or form a professional coach on this. But when, again, you reached out, I thought, wow, what a great opportunity to share my experience with a little bit of a larger audience and potentially help someone that might have a topic like this, in their mind.
Absolutely. And I mean, definitely you have a lot of personal experience on this, which I think is great to share. And, on this topic, what are some of the things that people should do that are critical for their professional growth? Because, like you say, it's something that's very important. We don't keep in mind. In some cases, we just assume and that it's going to happen.
So I'd say a few things that come to mind. And, when I share these, some we hear often, but some, we don't. So one that's very common that you probably hear left and right is set clear goals. But I think what we don't hear as often is make sure that with these goals that you set, that you're emotionally invested in them. I think, again, and maybe this happens a little bit less in the current generation, but I know with me, when I even was thinking about going to school and what major I wanted to choose, it was kind of, I had mommy and papi, right? You think of what do I want, what do they want me to do? And so, if you're not emotionally invested in the goals that you're setting for yourself, right, that desire is not there, you're not likely gonna set out to reach them. Searching for new experience is an opportunity. This is one that is very close to home. I've learned throughout the years that we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I know people have different levels of risk tolerances. I'm very risk averse, and a lot of my mentors have expressed that to me, and I've learned that we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable if we want to grow in life. Seeking out mentors and sponsors. I know you previously had a Cafecito where you spoke about this. It was a great one, but that's extremely important. Growing your professional network. Are you staying in your bubble and limiting your exposure to people only within your company and where you work, or are you exploring outside, joining organizations that, help you get involved in the community? Alpha, right, is the one that I've chose to keep in touch with. Keeping track of accomplishments and reviewing your progress. I think that often a lot of people, again, myself included, we get discouraged, right? We go through ups and downs in life and in our career and forget how far we've come. And so I've found that taking that time to look back and see, what, maybe I'm just going through one of those valleys, but look at how much I've done just in the last few years alone. And making sure you keep that stuff in mind. Improving your communication skills. learning things like personality styles, communication styles, and learning how to respond appropriately. I feel I became a manager at a very, very, very young age, and I would not have been successful, in my opinion, leading such a large team without having that skill set. And, I don't think it's necessary just for leaders or managers. I think people that work with a team of others, right? It's an important skill to have. And then lastly, I would say learning and focusing on developing your mind, which aligns with kind of that mindset principle that I was talking about. So, I was taught that most of the things you'll attempt to do over, let's say, the next 20 years of your career, if you follow, society in the mainstream, it'll be about putting in time and work and, waiting patiently for your moment to come, because that's what we're taught, right? Everyone's moment's going to come. Or what you can do is you have a significant opportunity which will require you to more step outside of the bounds of what you know or believe to be true, right? So what society tells you, what you think is true, what our parents and friends have probably told us. And again, this is more common in the Hispanic community as well. And so the other option is stepping outside of these things. And the only way for us to do that, I've found, is start researching and studying and internalizing ideas and concepts that'll eventually change the way we perceive our careers, growth, money, relationships, life, everything. Right. And so I think this type of studying and thinking was introduced to me by one mentor and one coach. And so it's been something that if I could pinpoint one thing, has been one of the most significant things in my professional growth and development.
A lot of gems. Definitely. And I especially want to highlight three of the ones that you mentioned that I personally see from a coach perspective keep coming up, because everything that you said is on point and critically important. But you started with something very important, which was setting clear goals that you're emotionally invested in. And I always like to do this exercise with my clients of saying, once you've envisioned, what you want to accomplish, what the success look like, then rate it from 1 to 10. And 10 being I'm extremely excited, and I can't wait for this goal to happen and this future to come true. And 1 is obviously not necessarily, it's more the I have to versus I want to kind of mentality. And if you're not in an 8 or above, then rethink it, because everything else that you mentioned requires a lot of energy and time and effort, and there's going to be a lot of barriers and challenges that are going to come your way. And if you're not, if you don't have the energy, and if you're not excited, and if you're not, to your point, emotionally invested, meaning it's 8 or above, then you're just going to drop it. It's like saying, I'm going to do all of these things at the beginning of the year, and then they just keep dropping off the list, and they just come back to the list next year because you're doing them for whatever the reason, but clearly not the right reason. So I love that one. And the other one that I want to highlight is the one that we're not alone. Right? Building that community, growing our network, surrounding ourselves with, these mentors, these sponsors, being a part of Alpha or United Latinas or all of these organizations where you can have, a group of people that support you. We are not alone. We have to do it alone, but we don't have to feel that we are alone, right? We can have the support system around us.
And find resources, right? Resources to help us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love everything that you're saying. Now, it does start with the mindset, right? And we can do all of these things and put the intentions, right? We start the year with putting all of our intentions and list of things that we want to accomplish. You just mentioned a good list, but then we don't move into action. It just stays an intention. And if we don't shift that mindset to take into action into these things, then nothing happens. They just stay in a piece of paper or somewhere, and nothing happens. So how do we move into action and shift, because sometimes it just feels like we come predisposed, for one reason or another. We have really good excuses of why not start today.
Yeah, and so I have a few things that I can talk about with this, and again, I'm in no way, shape a coach. A lot of these are just from things I've experienced myself. But my former boss, my former managing partner, used to tell us something very specific. I'm not sure who he got the quote from. I know he didn't, he didn't come up with it himself. You've probably heard of it. He used to tell us that people seldom change, but when they do, it's because of three things: the places they go, the people that they meet, and the books that they read. And I found this to be very much true. But through deeper study, what I found was that what these three things actually allow you to do is change your thoughts. So, what you think about and how you think about things. So without getting too deep into any of the material and content that I've, learned through studying the mind a little bit deeper in the last year, um, you know, part of the overall of what I've learned is that the answer is actually very simple to that question. Even if the work to get there isn't as simple, it starts with our thoughts. So our thoughts, what we think about, they become feelings, right? Feelings then trigger actions, and then our actions cause a reaction or result, whether good or bad. So, what I like to tell the people that I speak to, the students, the Alpha members, is what are you telling yourself most of the time when you're alone? Right? Are they negative things? Are they positive things? For example, oh, I'm such an introvert. I don't like to network. And then you end up with no professional network. I know for me in my industry, I'm in the financial services industry. This industry is male dominated. There are barely any Latinas, any women. I'm never going to succeed in it. Maybe I should go do something else, right? Are those the kind of things that you're telling yourself, or are you shifting the narrative? Notice and pay attention, and then look at the results that you're currently getting. Are they what you want? And if not, start changing the way you think, right? How can you do it? For me, I found that it's through writing and repetition. One of the mentors I've had, told me repetition is the first law of learning. So what are you constantly repeating to yourself? And, going back to that quote that I told you my former boss used to tell us, a little bit of perspective on how I find that. So the places you go, right, was the first one. When I first started in my graduate school, when I went to get my MBA, I went to a private college here in Orlando in the Winter Park area, Rollins College, and they actually do a lot of consulting projects. They're an international school, so we have partners internationally. And I was able to do a few consulting projects with companies like Electrolux in Italy, travel to Romania and work with local companies. So that experience was completely invaluable. I got a different perspective, not just again on the personal side, on the business side. And so, often I'll go back to the as women and as Latinas, are we being encouraged with just go and travel and learn and explore? I know I was scared to move out of when I was young to go to college somewhere else outside because my parents are here, right? So are we doing that, and are we traveling places? The second thing, the people that we meet. I've been able to continuously involve myself in organizations like Alpha, which is, how I met you. And, thankfully, because of my career, I've been very involved in the community, which has helped me meet new people, learn about them, surround myself with the people that I want to be more like. And now in this new role that I'm traveling so much to different offices, around the country, I'm able to do that even more. So, it's little by little, I see myself and I see that shift in me change. And then lastly, the books that we read. I was never really a reader prior to 2020. And when the pandemic hit, one of the head of the Latino market here at New York Life, she introduced us to a mindset program, which is where I started, doing the studying for all of this. It was called Thinking into Results. And I started getting exposed to these coaches on this topic, and they recommended books. So I started to read them, and they've all helped me change the way, I think and turn me into how I am now. So, the combination of all these things have helped me not only focus on the strategies that I mentioned earlier, but change my thought pattern and that constant reinforcement of them in my mind. So a little bit of a long answer again. Sorry about that.
No. But I think I love that, because you touch on these three important points, and I think it's a way of reframing them. The places that go, the people that you meet, the books that you read. In a way, it's all about learning new things, right? Because you're going to places where you learn something that you did not know. Right? People, it's about learning and perspectives and seeing the world through other people's eyes. And the books you read, the same thing. It's all about learning new things. And you had touched on earlier on this point of being comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Which is pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, which is our known environment where we tend to be. And I hear a lot of people saying, oh my God, it's because I'm risk averse. I don't like doing things that I don't know. I don't like pushing myself, getting to meet other people. Like pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, it just feels like too much and overwhelming to many. However, if you think about it as, well, I'm going to go to a new place today, or I'm going to see who I can meet today, or, read a new book, it feels less scary, so to speak, but it's still the same principle. It's still the same thing of moving from a known place and a known environment to a completely different one, physically, mentally, emotionally, in knowledge, whatever that is. So I love what you're saying.
And Ileana, if I can add to that point, because, you made me think of back when I first joined Alpha as an early career professional, with that point that you just made, the people that you surround yourself with matter. I remember being afraid of speaking in public. And I was managing the Women of Alpha event. I don't know if it was back in 2015 or 2016. I took on that project with my involvement with Alpha, and the president at the time, he pushed me to speak at that event in front of 200 people. And, I remember, right, I was shaking. I hated speaking in public, but because I wouldn't do it. But if it wouldn't have been for that was the beginning of it all, for that specific circumstance in my case. And if it wouldn't have been for those individuals that encouraged me to step outside of my comfort zone and just do it, what's the worst that can happen, right? I probably wouldn't have done it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you talk about, books and authors and speaker and content. Tell us a little bit more about, how do you decide where to start? Because there's a lot out there, and there continues to be a lot. And with access, digital, everything that's the digital sort of explosion of content, like where would you start? Where do you recommend?
I think for me personally, it was, there's two things. Partially, it's kind of just your willingness to jump in and figure it out mostly once you're there. The quality content that I found in books has come by the recommendation of people who I purposely approached because I knew they were successful or had achieved something that I was looking to achieve. So, do you have those people that you kind of, whether you look up to at work, we're talking professional here. So, for me, it specifically was either at work, or did they have qualities like the speaking right in public, something that I wanted to get to achieve, and just take that step and do it. But this reading, I mentioned I wasn't really a big reader. And, after getting into the material, I've come more and more, and I've exposed myself more and more to books. So I think that's where a lot of that learning has come from me too. I started reading books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. It's more on self-identity, and so many others that are, significant. But going back to it, I had to make the decision to jump in, not blindly, right? With a little research and study and following the right people, but I just had to say, I need to do it. And I did it.
That's so awesome. And I just wrote down all the books that you mentioned, because we always get asked the question from our members, like, what are the latest books? We actually, on our website, we have for our members a site where we're always offering, videos, TED Talks, curated content, basically, because to your point, there's a lot. So I'll make sure that I include those there as well. So we could continue talking about this for, I believe, another couple of hours, but we are coming to an end. What do you invite our audience to do?
My ask is the same as when I have these conversations, with the students. If this is something that is top of mind, take action on the things that you've heard, me say today. Again, I'm not a professional coach. I don't have all the answers, but reach out to someone like me, like Ileana, and take action on those steps that you're hearing. But again, it starts with the thoughts that you think. So do a little bit of self-inventory. And if you find, hey, I'm not where I want to be and I'm not getting the results I want, take an hour, 2 hours, go sit in front of, it depends where you live, right? A beach, a coffee house, anywhere that's calm, and take that self-inventory and see where you go next. But implement the stuff that we talked about today would be what I would say.
That is awesome. And actually, we have events coming up in United Latinas that tap into two of the things that you mentioned, that I invite everybody to check out. If you go to our website and you click on events, you'll see that we have our May 2nd coming up with Maxine Serrano, and she's going to teach us how to master the art of building a network. So to your point, we're not alone. We need to surround ourselves with awesome people. But if you're an introvert like myself, it's very hard. So she's going to help us. How do you master and that because it is a skill in some way or form to build that network. And we also have coming up on May 16th, Dulce Orozco, who's one of our dear members, to help us overcome and transform our fears, talking about moving out of our comfort zone. So you don't want to miss that. It's about transforming your fear of failure or your fear of success, because sometimes that also holds us back from moving forward. So don't miss out on that event. That's May 16th. And then we're going to have at the end of the month our traditional Latina leadership meeting, where we come together and convene and support each other, help each other out, talk about different topics that concern us, that we're struggling with, and we support each other. So don't miss that one as well. On May 25th, you'll find all of these events on our website at UnitedLatinas./events. Nicole, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, and you need to come back.
Definitely. Whenever you're ready to invite me again, I'd be more than happy to come back. It was a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, again for joining. I saw some familiar names on the saying hello on the chat. Thank you as always for being here with us, and have a wonderful rest of your day wherever in the world you are. Thank you so much, and check us out next week. Bye.